We call this one, Slimeball. Attorney aims to destroy the South Side, Holliston, and Sherborn. The name Barbieri is Italian and is a derived occupational name from barbier or barber surgeon, from late Latin barbarius, a derivative of barba or beard. The Barbieri presence in the region began with Giuseppe Barbieri, who in the 1930s ran the Bethany Ice Company, a family-operated business located on Giuseppe Barbieri's farm on Bethany Road in Framingham. This ice company was on the banks of Wowshaken Pond, and utilized ice from the pond to be distributed to homes for their food refrigeration needs. The children in the family attended school locally at Catholic School St. Tarsius. As the Barbieri family grew up in the 1950s, they stayed local, with many serving the town of Framingham. Some members had served on town boards and commissions, others serving in the police and fire departments. Fire Lieutenant Paul Barbieri had an elementary school named for him. The area, which was once the farm, now contains a few homesteads off Bethany Road, on a road appropriately named Barbieri Road. A few members of the Barbieri family still live there. For the last 100 years, the stories of the Barbieri family and the town of Framingham have been deeply intertwined. Meet Peter Barbieri. He is an attorney. For decades he has helped bring new businesses to Framingham, defending them in planning board and zoning board variance applications. Some of the projects he helped bring to life were the 9-90 Corporate Center, the redevelopment of Sanofi, the Danforth Village Complex, the AMC, and the Buckley Apartment Complex. Additionally, as a resident of Holliston, he serves his town as the chair of the Economic Development Committee and sits on the Holliston Board of Assessors. In the past he served on Holliston's Board of Selectmen, Planning Board, Conservation Commission and Housing Authority. In the last year or so, Barbieri has been kind of a slimeball to the community and to his fellow neighbors. Late in the evening of October 22, after a planning board meeting in Holliston was not going his client's way, he made a threat to sue the town which he resides in. His client is ADESA, the large automobile auction company. Just a couple of weeks ago you might have seen our video on ADESA's bid to take over the old CSX railyard on Hollis Street. In this plan, ADESA claimed they would use the railyard as an overflow parking lot. There would be spots for 600 vehicles to be stored until they could be auctioned off. They expected that each day 15 vehicle transport trucks, each carrying 9 cars, would come in to drop off their load and leave, equating to 30 trips through downtown Framingham and along Hollis Street, and back. In 2019, when the plan hit the desk of the Framingham building commissioner, he immediately denied it because a vehicle storage lot was as a prohibited use on the south side. ADESA decided to fight and opened a case with the Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA, in order to be able to build their parking lot. The ZBA would need to approve a variance for a prohibited use. A variance is defined as an official dispensation from a rule or regulation, typically a building regulation. The last time the ZBA approved a variance on a prohibited use, they got sued, and 18 months later, it's still tied up in the courts. The ZBA was seriously considering ADESA's plan, until our video came out embarrassing them for even considering a plan that would be detrimental to the public well-being. On October 14, the ZBA unanimously denied the variance. Had the variance been approved, it too would be tied up in court, as the ZBA would be sued again. Little did we know at the time that ADESA had a three-pronged approach in order to obtain one approval for a quote overflow lot. Let's take a look at ADESA and the 3 sites which ADESA had hoped to acquire. This is ADESA. It is located at the former General Motors car assembly plant in Framingham, with a small portion owned in Sherborn. Here are the 3 sites that were being considered for the new ADESA overflow lot. In black outlined area is ADESA. The red site was the Framingham CSX lot. While it looks perfect in distance, between ADESA and this site are train tracks and wetlands, necessitating the car carriers to deliver vehicles to the overflow lot by going down Union, Concord, or Waverly Streets, through downtown, and down Hollis Street to get to the site. To get to ADESA, the car carriers would need to drive back up Hollis Street and hang a sharp right onto Irving Street. As previously discussed on October 14, the Framingham Zoning Board of Appeals put ADESA's plan to bed on that site. The purple site is in Sherborn. On July 7, 2020, Odessa made its first bid to the planning board in Sherborn, presenting their proposed design for a lot on the property at 26 Weston Avenue, a quarter-mile from their main facility, but not directly adjacent. The 14-acre plot is currently owned by Susan Tyler, and if approved, Odessa would purchase a portion of the property and construct a 6-acre parking lot. North of this property is a lot currently located within Sherborn. To allow that lot, a special permit was attached which banned 9-car automobile transporters from Sherborn's roads. To utilize the 26 Western Avenue site, Odessa would have to renegotiate the special permit. Or they would need to find a way to connect the lots through land used by the power company for high-voltage transmission overhead power lines. Or they would need to find a way to deliver vehicles with only 2-car carriers, or have vehicles delivered to their main site and moved to the new overflow lot driving individually. Sherborn did give Odessa time of day on this plan, and it was discussed in the planning board meetings on July 7th, August 4th, September 15th, October 7th, and also by the Sherborn Energy Committee on August 5th and August 19th. During the planning board meeting on October 7th, the town of Sherborn decided they were not going to take the discussions any further. Per Barbieri, in Framingham he was rejected, and in Sherborn, they were not entertaining the plan. That brings us to Holliston, the yellow site on our map. This site is in the Holliston Lowland Industrial Park. The site is at 194 Lowland Street, and formerly on that site was a sand quarry, most recently used in a composting and compost delivery business, but done so without the town's permission. The town ended that, and the site has been largely abandoned since late in 2018. Odessa's current plan for the site is to pave a portion of the site and have 500 spaces for overflow parking. They would remove all the existing buildings and add a security guard station on May 19, 2020. The Holliston Planning Board received an application for a grant of a special permit. The request was a special permit for outdoor storage of vehicles and an environmental permit to comply with DEP stormwater mitigation. The case was first heard on July 16 by the Holliston Planning Board, and at that time there was plenty of opposition by the residents of Holliston. Odessa was sent back to complete some more studies and correct some plan concerns, and on September 3 the case was heard, and even more local opposition came forward. Most recently, the planning board heard the case on October 22. In that 3-hour meeting, with dozens of concerned residents backing, a letter written by the Sherborn Planning Board was entered against the Odessa plan. They wrote,
"One of the concerns of the Sherborn Planning Board was that the proposal involved paving of several acres of a residential property abutting wetlands, a change that would be relatively irreversible. We speculated that Odessa's current need for additional extensive used car parking areas may be driven by a short-term business opportunity." In Car and Driver on September 13, 2020, Sebastian Blanca wrote, citing industry analyses, "As the coronavirus pandemic continues, used cars are in demand because new car supplies are low and people are choosing car ownership over public transit and ride-sharing. Thus, the possible limitations created by the proposed Odessa infrastructure for future uses of the site might also be considered."
The chair of the planning board of Sherborn called in to verbalize her concerns and ended her statement with, quote, "Sherborn is watching these proceedings closely." After 3 hours on the topic, the members of the planning board decided that they had enough and were ready to deny the plan. Barbieri then decided it was time to threaten a lawsuit and sue the town in which he lives and serves on boards.
And again, I know people didn't want to say, wow, you can't compare it to another thing because that's not there. But, that's the way the judge is going to look at it. He's going to say, did you comply with the town standards? And the answer is yes. Can other uses be made of the site much more detrimental than what you're proposing? The answer to that is yes. We don't want to have to go that way.
I don't care. You want to close it? You want to close it? You want to end it? Jason wants to make his motion. Tell him to make the motion.
I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on this.
I can't live at the study for 3 hours.
I don't, but given the lateness of the hour, I think you might just want to consider.
The town decided to close the public portion of the hearing. The discussion and final vote would continue on December 3. Would Peter Barbieri really take this to court and destroy the neighborhoods his family has loved for generations for a few greenbacks? Like any slimeball bottom feeder attorney, we believe he just might. When this additional lot does come to fruition, wherever that may be, we hope this video will indelibly link the Barbieri family name to something that adds misery to a community. This might help Peter Barbieri or any bottom-feeding attorney make better choices in client selection going forward. The city wants us all to vote yes on question 3, the Community Preservation Act, which will allow funds to be collected by taxpayers to be handed to the state, who matches a portion of the money and redistributes it to municipalities who are participating in the Community Preservation Act. This money can be used to preserve historic buildings, to save green space from development, to build recreational facilities, or to build low-income housing. The City Council and the Mayor are asking us to vote yes on this ballot initiative, all the while the South Side is shit upon, with further ugliness, further pollution, and the lack of care. The Community Preservation Act will not benefit South Side. Vote no on question 3.